Just got to keep in mind that obviously sometimes when you make sets, they just don't have it.
Fair. No interest in ace-3 off from Mateos. Quite the opposite sentiments for suited connectors in these streets. Andy enjoying it this time, and we're going to block out Tan Xuan's hand as he flats, and 2 jacks emerge in the big for Elton.
Andy's got a decent hand, but he's going to lay it down.
55,000 price point. Deemed too rich, especially with Tan still to act behind him. Xuan showing an appetite for a big pot, as he often does. 130 in the middle, King 7 tray, 1 overcard to the jacks, and a check in front of us.
Never like to see the 1 overcard, but the thing is, Tan Xuan plays such a wide range. You really still can continue and see what's up.
$45K check called by Tan on what is very dry texture. 10 of spades on the turn, dampening things a bit.
We often want to check back the 10 because we want to play a little bit of pot control of 2 jacks. If you do happen to bet the turn, you would check the river unless you hit the jack. I will say though, I do discount the king a little bit from Tan Xuan just because Tan would be 3-betting the king a decent amount pre.
Check back from Elton, pot control, backdoor spades arrive. And now let's see how spicy Tan wants to get here, potentially. Not to assume that he's going to bet, but he's got that vibe, doesn't he?
He always does.
No. Checks it.
Mystery card.
A lot of players don't go for value, but when you put Elton versus Tan Xuan, 2 jacks do have a chance to get paid off by worse.
Yeah, but they also have a chance to open the action and instantly regret it. Elton will take his chances after deliberating. With what looked to be a sigh.
Don't read into Tan Xuan's body language.
That much we've learned.
You don't know if he's coming in with check call, check fold, or check raise at any moment's notice.
Feels like jacks are 100% good at this point, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, wait. He's grabbing more than 100K. Ollie, what timing do you have to say that? Because he is cutting out a check raise, and I think those chips are going in as he stacks more and pushes it in.
And the instant sense of regret washing over us, as in retrospect we feel like perhaps we're being punished for greed on the river. Elton being asked for another 200 and $40,000. Nothing about what we were observing suggested that Tan had a better hand or that this was on the table. It felt like fold or call only.
100%. You're right about that, and Elton definitely has regret going for value with 2 jacks, even though they often are good. But when you bet against a player like this, he can always come out swinging. In terms of value, Tan Xuan, of course, 3s and 7s are in play. I don't think this is just a naked king. Can Tan Xuan have spades? I think it's possible. But I guess the question we ask is, if Tan Xuan actually had a big hand, does he go for the check raise? Perhaps he's just playing his opponent, expecting Elton to value bet thinner.
Well, there's the recap. Andy Nee was an opener. Tan flatted. Elton 3-bet to 55. Tan called. A check call of 45 on the flop, and then it went check, check, turn. Tan checked one last time on the river, and then suddenly Elton's 105 ballooned into 345. Does he have 3x ever here? Is that possible?
Ace-3 suited, yes, it is possible. But I don't think it's just 3x that he's repping. He might be repping like a 7, 6, 7, 8 of spades. 7s, of course.
But when Elton checked back the turn, isn't Tan concerned about Elton just checking back river? Wouldn't he be more apt to lead?
That's the normal logic, yes. But we've seen over and over again these past few days that Elton and Tan Xuan are both very tricky and trappy. But then they also come up with some big bluffs. This is a time bank worthy hand, so Elton throwing them ahead now.
You see the shot clock right there behind the jacks of Elton. Not anymore with the shot.
So you see how Elton's got that jack of spades and it blocks flushes? It's actually kind of irrelevant because I don't really see how Tan Xuan would need that kind of spade to make a flush. You know what I mean? King jack of spades not possible given the king of spades out there. Wouldn't expect the jack of spades. Yeah, it's not that important.
Yeah, it doesn't interfere. This is one of the deepest tanks that we've observed thus far across 4 days of play. That circular green disc, by the way, is a multi-time bank chip. So he'll be whittling away against that as Tan patiently looks to give nothing away.
This is as murky as it gets.
What's bottom of range? What's top of range?
4.
Tan.
Top of range, of course, is boats.
Like 7's full?
7's full, pocket 3s, spades, coupled with the 7. Bottom range is basically a pocket pair that turned itself into a bluff, or a 7, 6 of hearts. You know, something that thinks, Elton, your line seems a little weak to go bet, check, bet, half pot on the river. Therefore, I'm just going to try to put you in a really tough spot. And I don't even think that Tan needs some kind of spade blocker to make that kind of move. This is just pure poker right now. I tell you, Elton can't put Tan Xuan on a hand right now.
I appreciate that Elton hasn't simply decided to pay it off.
He folds.
Considering that he's ahead as much as he is and he could maybe go, well, it's all profit anyway. Lays it down and
look how thin Tan Xuan tried to go for value with ace-king. Didn't even have spades or the full house.
4.5 minutes.
Good to see him. at the Invitational.
Feels appropriate for Ivey to get an invite, given how far back he goes with many of our Triton regulars, who I'm sure when he first roamed up to Macau and their cash games, I'm not going to say they were starstruck, but obviously, you know, the legend of Ivey, these guys probably really appreciated an opportunity to rumble with them. And we're going to block out Ivey's cards here as he flats the 𝐿TON 12K Open. Mystery card time, brought to you by GG Poker.
And Xuan is actually going to re-raise this pocket 7 something.
Yep.
He mixes up a bit. Sometimes he flats, sometimes he squeezes. Basically based on mood.
3-bet time, brought to you by Xuan.
Imagine 𝐿TON saying is going to set mine these 2 5s. Here we
It
go.
isn't a cheap proposition to do so, given it's another 47,000 required, but 𝐿TON's chips being in the pot does make a prospective call to close the action that much more potentially profitable for Ivey.
Oh, what about all the chips?
This is 450 plus in total. Does he have 7s beat? What do you think, chat?
This
Who's Phil Ivey
is
doing this with?
tough to call with 2 7s.
He flatted the button against the 𝐿TON Open. Ton 3-bet, 𝐿TON flatted, and now all of a sudden,
Feels like 8s or 9s to me.
it's a big mess.
Like for Ivey to be able to back raise jam, I think he's got 5s in big trouble. Lays it down. It's actually ace-6 suited. Wow.
No.
Really? Ivey got 7s and 5s down with that.
I mean, not the biggest hands in the deck, but
我会打啦。
both hands that had him beat.
跟
不是，我昨天去教了一个，他给了3個 scoop 給我，我操，吃不到這麼多嘛。
Mystery card, Chen, opening to 11K. Paul just calling ace-king suited.
We've seen a lot of slipperiness out of these ace-kings on the day. Nut flush draw and 2 overs on 7-5-4. That's what Paul's got. Don't know what Elizabeth has.
I don't know what she's got, but I'm liking ace-king of hearts right now.
Yeah, it'd be tough to argue with that hand being valuable.
So it's checked over to Paul. I would want to see him bet. The pre-flop raiser tends to not like to see 3 number cards connected. You can really represent sets, even some pocket pairs like 8s, 9s. Obviously back up with the 2 hearts in hand.
大家都不是同一個級別的，我操！
我拿到 KK 我丢掉。要中2對，你需要中2次。
16K.
打得好，超公自如。
That which Elizabeth faces.
是关键。
Not having C-bet.
可以把1對特跑。
She's grabbing whites and blues.
And making it 60,000.
我的牌跟他們的牌都是那個基本。
And we know that Paul is not going to fold.
頭5%，
But
最上面
both call and re-raise options are on the table.
For me, it's really just only call.
對啊，
Elizabeth Chen, check raising flop as pre-flop raiser does scream strength. You really don't want to inflate it so much where maybe Elizabeth puts in another re-raise if you do repop it. Plus, if your opponent is check raising you as a bluff with like worse hearts, you don't want those hands to fold because if you can find out a heart, can really build a massive pot.
What sort of hand composition opens, gets flatted, and then check raises this board texture, though? That's what's on Boss's mind.
Exactly.
然后他把筹码这样，他说我 check。你看看。
He does ultimately make the call, of course, and now a four-liner on the turn.
In general, this card does favor Paul more. I wouldn't expect Elizabeth Chen to be check raising, say, pocket 8, 7, 8. Plus, if she did happen to have like an overpair or a set, she would absolutely hate the four-liner. I think it's actually kind of tricky for Paul here. If he doesn't bet now, he can't really represent a good hand. And maybe bluff something off that's better. But if he bets, sometimes he opens the door to get check raise off of a really good draw, and he hits top pair, top kicker, which might be good. It's unclear. He's reaching for chips.
Heels of that check back from Boss on the turn. Elizabeth now fires 55,000. How well is Ace King performing as played?
I hesitate to answer because it's very difficult to figure out. Ace King beats two busted hearts. Pretty much the only hand I can think of that would take this line that you beat. He's under-repped his hand. I think he's just curious.
Remarkably, I know enough Chinese to know what Santiao means, and that's trips or a set. And that's exactly what Chen produces.
Nicely played. And a nice sizing to get paid off knowing that Boss never has a straight with that turn check.
打多一点我不气啦，然后来一个 A， 这么一个 A。